What's up, people? Sorry for being about 2 minutes late. I was having camera issues on my second setup. Crazy stuff today. Absolutely bananas. How's it going? How's it going? How's it going? I don't go all live that often. I'll explain why I'm going live now. Usually I do pre-recorded videos, and then I do my, weekly Live and Learn streams with Hutch and Pisco and Akana Boy Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. But what just happened today, I think, merits a live video. Mike Arnett says, "What happened? I've been under a rock." Well, I'm going to take that rock off you. I'm gonna reach down. I'm going to pluck that boulder right off you. Expose you to the light of day. Hello, Josiah. First time in a long time. Hope you're well. I am doing well. I am doing well. Stressed, but doing well. Trying to find a better work-life balance. Get back in the gym. Put on some LBs. Trying to have a healthier lifestyle. DoorDash and working all the time have just been a lethal combination for me. When you're 34 and your metabolism doesn't work like you're used to, it's not good. Gary McGovern, I had a feeling like I've never had after witnessing that bullshit. Yeah, that, like I said, I'll explain here in just a little bit. Let some people trickle in. But yeah, I felt a certain type of way. I had some feelings. Yeah, normally my process is, I'm constantly like checking, like, believe it or not, Twitter is really good for what I do because, like, in terms of clips, in terms of like breaking news updates, X is still pretty reliable in that respect. And so that comes in handy to keep track of the political news cycle. And, so I'm constantly scrolling throughout the day, and then I take, okay, I'm going to talk about this. And I want to also include this particular thing because this is relevant to the topic, and yada, yada, yada. And yet, after the Padilla thing went down, like, that fucked me up. Like, I was like, I did the video about it, but I kept refreshing the story and seeing, one reaction after another from state, local, and federal lawmakers, and even some reporters, talk about how, holy shit, this is just like, it's unprecedented. They've never seen this before. And so I thought I was going to end up doing multiple videos on the topic, but I just found myself like I was glued to, again, Twitter and everything, just seeing what the update was. And so it was like 1 hour passed, 2 hour passed, and I started to get a headache. And I'm like, I just probably need to, instead of having 4 or 5 separate videos on it, we'll just do a quick live about it. Hello from Louisville, Kentucky, Amber Baird. I used to be in Louisville. It used to be my home. Think about it when you're 56. Yeah, I'm sure it's more of a challenge from here on out. Hey, Josiah, keep fighting the good fight. We need your voice. Thank you. Thank you. And again, while we're waiting for people to come in, and we'll dive into the fallout of the Padilla story. Again, I'll recap what happened with Senator Padilla, but this is really about the ensuing fallout and the reaction from various people. But while we're waiting, again, for more people to show up, I do want to take a look at this right here. So let me do this. Okay. So as a reminder, this Saturday, Donald Trump is having a military parade. Okay. He says it's for the 250th, birthday of the Army, but it's actually his birthday. All right. That's really what this is about. And reportedly, there are going to be Golden Knights parachuting in to hand Trump a special birthday American flag. So I hope that's wrong, but it sounds super fucking gross. He's always wanted a military parade. He wanted it in his first term, but his, various military advisors at the time, members of the Joint Chiefs, were like, dude, don't do this. This is like tin pot dictator bullshit. Don't do this. This is beneath the United States. Well, now he's been vindicated because he won re-election and he wants to do it his way. So he's having his military parade on Saturday. And in response, this group called No Kings are hosting nationwide protests to Trump's military parade in Washington, D.C. So if you look at the About section, in America, we don't do kings. They've defied our courts, deported Americans, disappeared people off the streets, attacked our civil rights, and slashed our services. The corruption has gone too far. No thrones. No crowns. No kings. Period. And if you look, they have an interactive map about all the protests they have planned. As you can see, particularly on the the East Coast, east of the Mississippi, like there's a lot of shit going on, right? The more population dense areas. And they've got like major, capitals marked out. So No Kings Phoenix, No Kings Houston, No Kings Charlotte, which is where I live, No Kings Philadelphia, No Kings, I thought this was Chicago. I almost said Cleveland. Fucked up my geography. So there's like an interactive map here. You can punch in your zip code if you go to nokings.org and find out where the nearest protest is to you if you want to attend. And yeah, so definitely check that out. So this is good. We need to raise our voices in peaceful but vociferous protest and call out the Trump administration's monarchical designs because they really want to make Donald Trump a king. So with that in mind, I'll go back here real quick and take a look. Okay, we're gonna do a quick recap of what happened with Senator Padilla. Okay, we're gonna look at a couple of clips. Actually, we're gonna look at 3 clips and then uninterrupted footage of the whole thing. Let me transfer the audio here. And I really, like I said, I'm not used to going live. I need to get back into that sort of habit. So if you haven't yet, please be sure to like and subscribe, just in case I start going live more often. We're going to start doing channel memberships with some bonus content. I'm in the process of starting a Substack because, believe it or not, I used to write a lot. And I loved writing. It engages a different part of my brain. Before I started doing this full-time, Luke Beasley had me write 3 articles a day for his website, lukebeasleyshow.com. And I did that until, February of last year. Then I started to do this full-time and no longer had the time to write. But damn it, I am determined to make the time. So let's start with this. Again, folks, this is in the context of Senator Padilla, the senior senator from California. Here we go.
I'm Senator Alex Padilla. I have questions for the secretary because the fact of the matter is a half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your heads off.
How many of our ICE agents have been done?
So that was the clip that went viral for me. That was the thing that I saw. And that was at a federal building. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem was giving it was a press event, okay? And Senator Padilla was in the building, and he was authorized to be in the building. And he decided that he wanted to, why is this not working? He decided that he wanted to, go into the press briefing in the building he was authorized to be in as a California senator with oversight over the executive branch. And yeah, he was kicked out. And again, so I just played you the first angle, which was the one that went viral. Then there was this.
Sir, hands up. I'm Senator Alex Padilla. I have questions for the secretary because the fact of the matter is a half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your hands off.
So that was a separate angle of the same event. All right. This was the one, what I'm about to show you, this was the one that really fucked me up. Because if you guys saw the first video I did about this, I did not see this particular clip until I was doing the video in real time and we were looking through the ongoing reactions. And this is the clip that I saw.
Hands behind your back. Hands behind your back.
If you let my hands go, I find behind my back.
All right. cool. One hand. Lay flat. Lay flat. Other hand, sir. Other hand. There's no recording loud out here.
And I don't know if you heard that, but one of Senator Padilla's staffers is obviously recording this. That's how we know about it. And somebody off screen was like, hey, there's no recording allowed in this federal building at a press conference where the reporters are. And my assumption is, not being a lawyer, maybe Pisco, if he were here, could elucidate, but my suspicion is recording was allowed. They just did not want that particular recording to be made public because they knew how it looked. And unfortunately for them, it did go public. Now, so we saw separate clips. We saw the first viral angle, the second viral angle, the third clip of Padilla being manhandled to the floor and cuffed. Okay. Now, this is the C-SPAN feed of the event itself.
And that this mayor have placed on this country and what they have tried to insert into this city. So I want to say thank you to every single person that has been able to do this. Also, I want to talk specifically to the rioters and to the politicians in Los Angeles. I also want to talk.
So then he's manhandled out the door, and again, that's on the other side of the room. So there you go. Different, like 3 or 4 different angles right there of the event in question. But we also have more to look at. Okay, so Mediaite has a pretty good article out. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna refresh this and see if there's any. Okay, there's not. So Mediaite has an article out, and it's of course incomplete because again, these reactions are ongoing in real time. Uncharted territory. Political world shocked by footage of federal agents assaulting senator. The chaotic scene of federal agents forcibly taking a sitting U.S. senator to the ground Thursday sent shockwaves throughout the political world. On Thursday afternoon, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem held a press conference in Los Angeles. The conference centered on the deportation efforts in the city and the protests that have arisen from those efforts. At one point, the conference was interrupted by California Senator Alex Padilla, who said he had questions for Noem. As soon as he spoke, he was surrounded by several security staffers who forcibly escorted him out of the room. When they left the room, Padilla was even taken to the ground and put in handcuffs. And of course, we played all that footage. Many of Padilla's colleagues in the nation's capital, including former the Speaker House Nancy Pelosi, voiced their outrage online. So you have Nancy Pelosi. This assault is not only on Senator Alex Padilla, but on freedom of speech and expression in our country. These actions taken by Trump's DHS communicates a message to all Americans that none of us is safe. Representative Bonnie Watson Coleman says absolutely unacceptable. This is outrageous behavior. Assaulting a sitting U.S. senator in public on camera. Imagine how they treat everyday folks in the dark of night. Federal agents are not above the law. Representative Mark Takano. They cannot deal with the dissent of any kind. They will rough up citizens, protesters, even U.S. senators. Congressman Ro Khanna, also of California. A United States senator seeking clarification from a cabinet secretary should not be assaulted or treated like this. Representative Pete Aguilar. Forcibly removing a United States senator from a press conference is disgraceful. This administration's chaos and corruption is out of control. Senator Adam Schiff, also of California. Senator Alex Padilla represents the best of the Senate. The disgraceful and disrespectful conduct of DHS agents, pushing and shoving him out of a briefing like that, demands our condemnation. He will not be silenced or intimidated. His questions will be answered. I'm with Alex. And so on. And I should just say, too, we will get to the Senator Padilla issued a written statement, his office did. Then he issued a public statement on camera right after he left the building. He was very emotional. He's visibly emotional. We will get to that. And he made some really good points. And we're going to get to see some other reactions as well. But that's really what this is about, is, again, exploring the fallout, the reaction to what happened. Another Congressman, John Garamendi, this is appalling and unacceptable. Alex Padilla was doing his job of conducting administrative oversight and expressing his right to free speech. Physically removing a U.S. senator for asking a question continues to cross constitutional lines. This administration is out of control and must be held accountable. Yesamine Ansari, another congresswoman, says Senator Alex Padilla was just forcibly shoved to the ground and arrested while at a DHS press conference. Fucking outrageous. This is authoritarianism. I appreciate the use of the F-bomb. We need to be speaking more viscerally. Now, obviously, you've got to do it with the degree of credibility. You may recall a couple of months ago that there was a congresswoman. She's like, oh, I don't swear all that much. And she was like, we got to fuck Trump. I think she meant like, we've got to like, I don't know, fuck him over, or, we've got to say fuck you, Trump, or something like that. But it made it sound like we were supposed to have aggressive sexual intercourse with Trump, which, of course, none of us, including Trump's own wife, Melania, want. Political media was also taken aback by the incident, with Glenn Thrush of the New York Times noting that, quote, this feels like uncharted territory. And really, folks, this is the key. Obviously, Padilla's Democratic senators are going to be outraged. And they should be, right? The outrage is justified, but it's also expected, given that they are partisan colleagues of him, of his. Even if he were not in the right, and even if he did do something wrong, which he didn't, they would still be outraged on his behalf, right? He didn't do anything wrong. They are right to be outraged, but again, it's expected. To me, it's like the fact that reporters, remember that, he interrupted a press conference to ask Secretary Nome perfectly valid questions. It was the press who was in the room. And so their reactions to me are really interesting too. So Glenn Thrush says feels like uncharted territory. John Harwood says no longer shocking that we're living under corrupt authoritarian thugs. Harwood is, of course, a media legend, and he now works with Zeteo, which is the media outfit led by the independent media outlet led by friend of the show, Mehdi Hassam. John Favreau of Pod Save America says these thugs need to get their fucking hands off a U.S. senator who was merely asking the Homeland Security Secretary questions at a public press conference. Tim Miller, Republican of the Bulwark, says, number one, finally the energy that's called for from Alex Padilla. Number two, who do these goons think they are? This is a press conference in a free country. It's not a police state yet. Get your hands off our elected officials. Let's see here. And yes, if you have questions or anything in chat, definitely let me know. I'll try to respond as much as I can. Again, I'm used to not being live, so I'm trying to train myself for live stream decorum. Super chats are always welcome too. Please be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Yeah, let's see. Just real quick before we keep going. Uncharted territory. It's all over history. Fascism happens in nearly line by line the same playbook. Yeah, I mean it's relatively uncharted for the United States, but I take your point. This is where American exceptionalism really bites us in the ass, because we think, oh, this thing that has happened dozens of times in other countries can't possibly happen here, when in fact it is. John Lovett, also of Pod Save America, says this is a U.S. senator at a press conference. You may not like having your stream of invective and lies about Los Angeles interrupted by a question from our representative, but physically assaulting and removing a senator is disgusting. So, again, that was an incomplete article by Mediaite written several hours ago, and so much has happened since then. I want to get to some immediate responses, but obviously one of the other big major opponents of Donald Trump here lately, particularly out of California, is Governor Gavin Newsom. So I wanted you to see a couple of things that he had to say in response to this. Let's try this. Here we go. Senator Alex Padilla is one of the most decent people I know. This is outrageous, dictatorial, and shameful. Trump and his shock troops are out of control. This must end now. I agree, Governor. I agree. He also said, if they can handcuff a U.S. senator for asking a question, imagine what they will do to you. And again, this is a screenshot of Padilla being shoved on his face by 3 federal agents and handcuffed simply for asking the DHS secretary a question. Super fucking gross and fascistic. One thing that before we get to some of Padilla's own reactions, because I said he offered a written statement and a verbal statement, a live statement to the press. The one other thing I want to say or show you is a Republican senator reacted to this and actually gave a human, reasonable, rational response for an elected representative, and that is Republican Senator Lisa Murkowski of Alaska. She says, and this is a direct quote. I think she gave it to not MSNBC. I think she gave it to like NBC or something. She says, quote, "I've seen that one clip. It's horrible. It is shocking at every level. It's not the America I know." Now, Senator Murkowski is the one, and we did a video about this a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago, who was at a town hall event. And she was talking about the threats that she gets and her colleagues get from Trump supporters and the attacks that they suffer for the possibility of defying him, which Murkowski has, right? Trump hates Murkowski. And I believe if it weren't for ranked choice voting in Alaska, Murkowski probably wouldn't be in the Senate at the moment because MAGA loathes her, okay? And it is simply by virtue of ranked choice voting in Alaska that she has her job. So she's kind of like Rand Paul, kind of like Thomas Massey. She's seen as too much of a renegade for Trump, and he has repeatedly attacked her. So she's criticized him, but she's pointed out, that the current climate of fear that Trump is stoking in the Senate is extraordinary. Now, I appreciate what the senator had to say. I almost said the congresswoman had to say here. Of course, I'm frustrated because it's like at this point you should put country over party and say, even though you might agree with the Republicans more on individual policy than Democrats, knowing that your party, Senator Murkowski, has birthed a fascist and the Democrats haven't, Trump is your party's fault, then perhaps you should do as other Republican lawmakers have, like Adam Kinzinger and Liz Cheney and Joe Walsh, and repudiate him. And while you are still in office, go caucus with the Democrats and not vote for shit that Trump wants and stick it to him. I wish Murkowski would do that, but she has really yet to do so. So now let's get to Senator Padilla's own reactions, 2 reactions, a written statement and then a statement he made to the press. Let's see here before I get there. Secretary Cosplay accusing Senator Padilla of political theaters. Rich, yeah, we're going to get to the DHS official response. But yeah, that is the word that they use, political theater. The phrase they use is political theater. Yeah, it's like, yeah, but you're fascist Barbie. You get paid, hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxpayer revenue to do what? To do your hair and dress in a different costume every 3 days. Oh, I'm going to go on a raid. Oh, I'm going to do this, that, and the other. You're fucking cosplaying instead of doing the administrative work of the state. All Nome does is theater, even more than Trump, right? I mean, she has no credibility on that, but good point. So this is the written statement from Senator Alex Padilla. A statement from U.S. Senator Padilla's office about his being grabbed, pushed to the floor, and handcuffed, trying to ask a question at DHS Secretary Nome's press conference in L.A. Padilla is currently the ranking member of the U.S. Senate Judiciary Immigration Subcommittee. So today, the office of U.S. Senator Alex Padilla, ranking member of the Senate Judiciary Immigration Subcommittee, released the following statement after Padilla was forcibly removed from Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem's press conference while performing congressional oversight in Los Angeles. Quote, Senator Padilla is currently in Los Angeles exercising his duty to perform congressional oversight of the federal government's operations in Los Angeles and across California. He was in the federal building to receive a briefing with General Gillett and was listening to Secretary Noem's press conference. He tried to ask the secretary a question and was forcibly removed by federal agents, forced to the ground, and handcuffed. He is currently not detained, and we are working to get additional information. So that was the written statement. And then came his remarks to the press publicly. So let's switch over to that. There we go.
Over the course of recent weeks, several of my colleagues, have been asking the Department of Homeland Security for more information and more answers on their increasingly extreme immigration enforcement actions. And we've gotten little to no information in response to our inquiries. And so I came to the press conference to hear what she had to say, to see if I could learn any new additional information. And at one point, I had a question. And let me emphasize, just as we've emphasized the right for people to peacefully protest and to stand up for their First Amendment rights, for our fundamental rights. I was there peacefully. At one point, I had a question. And so I began to ask a question. I was almost immediately forcibly removed from the room. I was forced to the ground, and I was handcuffed. I was not arrested. I was not detained. I will say this. If this is how this administration responds to a senator with a question, if this is how the Department of Homeland Security responds to a senator with a question, you can only imagine what they're doing to farm workers, to cooks, to day laborers out in the Los Angeles community and throughout California and throughout the country.
So as you can tell, he is visibly and audibly emotional. He's choked up, and I don't know. Some people, oh, it's performative, and all that. I don't believe so. And even if it were, he's a hell of an actor, because that came off extremely authentic. Yeah, it's a good point. It's like, U.S. senators are treated with a level of privilege. And as a matter of fact, what's interesting is in the cope that Secretary Nome has been offering in the aftermath, she's like, well, we just didn't know who he was. If we knew who he was, we wouldn't have done this. And once we found out who he was, we let him go, right? So they're saying, hey, Padilla was actually treated better than the average person would be because we let him go. We stopped. Now, again, she's, I would say, being pretty dishonest, given that he shouted, hey, I'm Senator Alex Padilla of California. And, some people say, well, she just didn't know. That's an indictment of Nome. Okay, there are 100 U.S. senators and 47 Democratic caucusing senators. And he is the ranking member of a committee of jurisdiction that interfaces with her. It's not like he's the ranking member on like some sort of Treasury subcommittee, right? And she wouldn't be engaging with that person. He is the highest ranking member in the Democratic Party on a specific subcommittee that she has to deal with. And she didn't recognize him. The name did not register once he shouted it out. Nobody in the room was like, oh shit, no, that's the senior senator for California, the very state we're in. He is the ranking member of a subcommittee that we deal with all the time. Hey, maybe we shouldn't kick his ass out the door and throw him to the ground and handcuff him, especially because he's not breaking the law. Now, and speaking of which, let's talk about that too. So this is the official Homeland Security statement. Senator Padilla chose disrespectful political theater and interrupted a live press conference without identifying himself or having his Senate security pin on as he lunged toward Secretary Nome. Padilla was told repeatedly to back away and did not comply with officers' repeated commands. Secret Service thought he was an attacker, and officers acted appropriately. Secretary Nome met with Senator Padilla after and held a 15-minute meeting. So a couple of things. Chose disrespectful political theater. Let's start there. Disrespectful, let's take it at face value. Disrespectful political theater does not violate the law. It is, in the United States, perfectly legal to disrespect government officials. I, as an American citizen, have the privilege, the right to say, fuck you, Donald Trump, because we don't live in feudal Britain, right? We don't live under a monarchy, no matter how horny MAGA is for one. Remember FJB, fuck Joe Biden, let's go Brandon? MAGA loves disrespectful political theater when the officials are Democrats. And President Biden never arrested, as far as I know, or threw to the ground a Republican senator, a Republican congressman, a Republican congresswoman. I mean, think about this. Do you all remember, you know what? Oh my God, it just now occurs to me. Disrespectful political theater. Disrespectful political theater. I've got some disrespectful political theater to show you. Tell me, do you guys remember this disrespectful political theater?
We need to secure our border and fix the immigration system.
Holy shit, look at that disrespectful political theater from Lauren Boebert, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Ralph Norman. Can y'all remind me, did President Biden have Secret Service rush into the pews and hurl their asses to the floor and cuff them? Oh, they didn't. They didn't. And I remember why. Because it's actually perfectly acceptable and perfectly legal to disrespect members of the federal government. You can't break the law. You can't assault them. You can't threaten them, nor should you. But you can disrespect them. And again, this coming from fascist Barbie, Kristi Noem. So there's that. So we've debunked that because we always win the debate and they always lose because they're fucking morons and unprincipled, hypocritical losers. So we've debunked that. And interrupted a live press conference without identifying himself. Without identifying himself. Y'all remember when he shouted out repeatedly, "I am Senator Alex Padilla of California"? That sure sounds like him identifying himself. Padilla was repeatedly told to back away and did not comply with officers' repeated commands. I heard them say back away as they shoved him back, but then they shoved his ass out of the room. So yeah, total bullshit. Now, the other thing that you'll note here, do you know what they don't allege? They don't allege he broke the law. So when you have these MAGA dipshits out here saying, well, so now you don't think that no one's above the law. We kept hearing that when it came to Donald Trump, no one's above the law. But now that it's a Democrat, a demon rat, then suddenly no one is above the law, ain't your thing anymore. It's certain people is above the law. Well, it's like, no, asshole. There's no allegation that Padilla broke the law. Because it turns out, being in a building you're allowed to be in, as a sitting member of Congress with congressional oversight constitutional prerogatives, at a public press conference, asking a question doesn't violate the law. Yet. It might later in Trump's America, but it doesn't yet. Please be sure, by the way, to like and subscribe if you have not already. Again, I got to get better about that. I got to remind you. Please be sure to like. We have 805 people. That means we need 805 likes and subscriptions, man. Did the person who wrote that tweet even watch the video? Probably not, because if you watch the video and write in a way that addresses what actually happened on the video, then you couldn't possibly defend Kristi Noem or what happened to Senator Padilla, right? So it's like, somebody was like, shit, the only way I can actually write this credibly is if I don't see what happened. He lunged at her. That was the other thing, lunged. Folks, this is so fucking, right here. He lunged at her is what we've been told. You see this shit? Let me pull it up here. Where is it? Oh, lunged. He lunged at the Congresswoman. It's so funny. There's a lunge was trending. I want to show you this. Too damn funny. Check this out. Lunged. Joe Walsh, former Republican congressman, says he did not lunge at Secretary Noem. He did identify himself. Our government is lying. Simone Sanders Town said there was no both sides to this one, folks. The government saying the senator lunged at the secretary and did not identify himself. We have a video where we can hear and see the opposite. John Favreau again says this is a pathetic, lying propagandist, wants us to pretend we didn't see the full video where Padilla clearly identifies himself and in no way lunges toward Noem. Very true. Republicans did this in a room full of cameras to a sitting U.S. senator, and then Kristi Noem went on Fox and lied, saying Padilla lunged at her and did not identify himself. Complete lies. On the video, he identified himself. He did not lunge. It's beyond rational belief any responsible security agency wouldn't recognize a United States senator. He wasn't, quote, repeatedly told to back away, end quote, unless the people seizing him are ventriloquists. Their mouths are closed. Good point. Again, people ruthlessly mocking the Department of Homeland Security about this, as well they should, because he did not lunge. Lying their asses off. These people are pathetic. But it says something that they feel that they don't even have to lie particularly creatively, right? You know, I think it's in, any of you watch Andor? If you guys ever see us on Live and Learn, or you see any of my live streams, you know I'm a big Star Wars nerd, right? And Andor is the best Star Wars TV show by far, probably the best live action Star Wars since at least 1980s Empire Strikes Back. And I think it's in season 2, which just came out, the final season of Andor, where they say, you know, the Empire's not even bothering to lie cleverly. Like that's the worst part. That's the most disturbing part. It's just like they're half-assing their lies. That's how confident they are that they can bamboozle the public, and how confident they are of their power. And likewise, the Trump administration isn't even lying creatively here. He lunged. Motherfucker, we've got 14 different camera angles proving he did not lunge. What do you think a lunge is? They're not even bothering to lie well. So, let's get into some of the other reaction from state media, right? Let's think about the Fox propaganda network. Now, listen, I am a biased person. I own it. I am not a journalist, number one. And number two, I do not pretend to be an enlightened centrist, nonpartisan, both sides journalist. I am a political commentator. I am a guy who went to school for politics, educated in politics at the collegiate level, who's read a shit ton about politics, who watches and consumes and reads a lot of politics, who has opinions and biases. I own it. I am not a journalist. If it weren't for actual journalists, I couldn't do what I do. So here you have Fox News, which is supposed to be a journalist network, and yet they had to pay an $800 million loyalty tithe to Donald Trump back in 2023 to Dominion Voting Systems because they knowingly signal boosted Donald Trump's lies about the 2020 election. CNN never had to do that. MSNBC never had to do that. By the standards of defamation, to the extent that defamation suggests a lack of integrity or a lack of credibility, Fox is objectively the least credible, just by far. Worse than CNN, worse than MSNBC. They're also the biggest player in mainstream media, whether we like it or not, by far, much bigger than MSNBC or CNN combined. So this is Mark Thiessen, who is a prick, and he pretends he's a Washington Post contributor as well. He pretends to be, you know, one of those reasonable conservatives, but I want you to hear his desperate spin for this.
Now you've got a Democratic senator storming a press conference of the DHS secretary, going into a scuffle with law enforcement. What's wrong with these people? You don't behave like this. This isn't how a senator is supposed to behave. You're supposed to have some sort of decorum. And you wonder why there are riots in Los Angeles? You've got members of Congress elected.
You see what I mean? He stormed the press conference by walking in and asking a question. He stormed it. He might as well have been like one of the troops at Normandy, storming the beach, right? Fucking unbelievable. What a hack, what a loser. But that's what happens when you're forced to back the morally inferior position, as Mark Thiessen does. You just pick a better side. As Matthew Gertz notes, the RNC is currently and repeatedly defending the manhandling of Senator Padilla. You have the RNC research page, which is perhaps the most unhinged out of all of them. Gavin Newsom watched a video of a sitting Democratic senator being removed for barging into a briefing and thinks law enforcement officers are the ones out of control. RNC research, California Democratic senator forcibly interrupted Kristi Noem's briefing on the LA riots to fight for criminal illegal aliens. Democrats are totally unhinged. Chuck Schumer is sickened by Alex Padilla getting removed from a briefing he forcibly interrupted, but not by the violent riots attacking ICE agents in major cities? Pathetic. No shame. No shame. Let's see. Another reaction. I like this guy a lot. This guy is Kyle Clark. I think he's out of Colorado. He's gone viral a gazillion times. He says, covered countless press conferences and 20 plus years in journalism. I've seen critics, including elected officials, show up to question/confront speakers. I've never seen anything like this in response. Very ominous. Now, let's get to the reaction of other elected lawmakers, okay? So, friend of the stream, friend of the show, Democratic Congressman Alejandro Frost of California, not of California, Florida. I had to think about that a second. He says, we are marching to Senator Thune's office. There must be accountability for the detainment of a senator. This is not normal. So these are House Democrats walking to the other side of the Senate building and going to John Thune. Now, John Thune is the new Republican majority leader. He's the guy who took Mitch McConnell's place, okay? So I hesitate to say he's not the boss of the Republicans because he can't fire them. He's the leader of the Senate Republicans, and they're hoping he will condemn what happened. He will not. Spoiler alert, he will not. I don't know if he's issued a public statement, but I would bet the farm that he will not. Now, you know who also won't speak out in defense of members of Congress? MAGA Mike Johnson. This was MAGA Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House. This was his despicable public response.
Speaker of the House,
Yes.
the constitutional officer of this branch.
Yeah, and what of it? I mean,
The idea that you said this is a Senate issue. This isn't, I mean, these are members of Congress.
I mean, yeah, but the Senate does its disciplinary actions over there, and we do ours over here. We have a certain set of measures, as you all know, and it ranges from censure to removal from committees to ultimately expulsion from the body.
And do you support that for the senator?
It's not my decision to make. I'm not in that chamber, but I do think that it merits immediate attention by their colleagues over there, and that they need. I think that behavior, at a minimum, is it rises to the level of a censure. I think there needs to be a message sent by the body as a whole that is not what we are going to do. That's not how we're going to act. We're not going to have branches fighting physically and having senators charging cabinet secretaries. We got to.
See how much of a fucking loser this guy is? I mean, there's so many. The evidence of Johnson's hypocrisy and moral cowardice are mountainous. I mean, he just provides more and more evidence every damn day. Imagine if this were a Republican senator who just simply asked a question of a Democratic cabinet secretary in a building that he was allowed to be in, and there's no evidence, none, of a physical altercation. Again, he lunged, he stormed. Bullshit. Provide the camera footage. Provide the camera footage that Padilla lunged at Kristi Noem, and you win. You at least have a case to make. But you haven't produced the footage because the footage doesn't exist because you're a fucking liar. All of you are liars. Because you know, as you almost always are, 9 times out of 10, morally and intellectually wrong. You're on the wrong side. And it's not because Mike Johnson's an idiot. He's not. He's very, very smart. But being a very smart MAGA Republican is like being a very smart flat earther. When the facts are so squarely against you in so many situations, this is what you're reduced to. Well, you know, we have our own, we kind of have our own procedures here but you know what? I do think that he should be censured. How dare you do the Marxist communist thing of asking questions of a government officer? Who does that? That's what commies do. Speaking of Mike Johnson, he was mercilessly heckled, as well he should be, by Democratic lawmakers. That's Madeline Dean, by the way. She's a Democratic congresswoman talking to Speaker Johnson. And we're going to get louder clips of other people heckling him, like Dan Goldman, Democratic congressman from New York and friend of the show. Yeah, so she's basically beseeching him. She says, this is Manu Raja from CNN. After a tense press conference where Dems were heckling Speaker Johnson over his Padilla comments, Representative Madeline Dean confronts Johnson and tells him to tell Trump to turn the temperature down. That's what she was telling him. Tell Donald Trump to turn the temperature down. Of course, Donald Trump does not, his thermostat does not go in the down position. He has no interest in that. So here's another clip, this time of Dan Goldman, Dan the Man Goldman. Gotta love Dan.
What?
Acting like a senator. Why don't you stand up for Congress?
Why don't you stand up for Congress? Agreed. But he won't because he's too much of a fucking coward. Johnson gets it even more here, and I just love the look on his face. God, what a loser.
I think the senator's actions, my view is it was wildly inappropriate. You don't charge a sitting cabinet secretary, and everybody can draw their own conclusions. You can see it's a heated debate here. I'm not going to respond to that. Look, let me just, hold on, wait just a second. I think the American people can draw their own conclusions. They saw a senator acting like wildly inappropriate.
He's getting heckled here, as well he should, because he knows he's fucking lying. This guy was, by the way, supposed to be a super Christian, is not. So let's look at some other reactions as well. So here's one that I really enjoyed, and this is former Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg. This is what he has to say.
Hey, it's Pete. Like so many people around the country, I just saw something that made my stomach turn. Something I didn't think that I would see, even under this administration. A United States senator pushed to the ground and handcuffed after asking questions of a federal government official.
Hands behind your back. Hands behind your back.
If you let my hands go, I put behind my back.
All right, cool. What are we supposed to do about that? Well, first of all, we name what just happened, which is that the Trump government has crossed one of the reddest of red lines that can exist in a free society. Any salute to the flag or talk of patriotism or American greatness is completely hollow if you do not respect the freedoms that that flag represents, the Constitution that directs the course of this country. And they've shown what they think of those freedoms and that Constitution. Now what? Well, much will depend on the courage of members of the Senate and the House, especially Republicans. This kind of thing is designed to make them more afraid. Our job as American citizens is to make sure that they realize they have more politically to lose by riding the tiger of this out-of-control administration, which will sooner or later eat them too, then going along with it. That's going to take all of us raising our voices like never before, so that something like this can never happen again.
Agreed. You know, again, and what he's saying is that these Republican lawmakers who have to get reelected every 2 years or every 6 years fear Donald Trump, 79, about to be 80-year-old man, on his second term, which constitutionally is his last. Donald Trump has violated the Constitution before, of course. They fear him more than they fear you, more than they fear the voters, more than they fear your loved ones. And that's a problem that Republican voters have helped create as well. We, the people, should remind our politicians that they need fear not having our votes. That if they don't do what they are told within the confines of the law, that they will be replaced in the next election cycle by somebody who will. And so even though Trump is on the wrong end of so many fucking policy issues and has been for his entire political career, they fear him and they're willing to fuck their voters over because they think their voters are so complacent and lazy that they'll put up with it. And the sad thing is, and I can say this because I'm not an elected official, right? Like if I were an elected official, I would have to, as they all do, lie about how amazing we the American people are. We are not. I mean, we can be amazing. We've had, like any, people are capable of extraordinary acts of kindness and ingenuity and resourcefulness. And certainly, I mean, like there's genuine greatness in human beings. And yes, even the American people, but man, there's a lot of fucked up flaws too. Like, I mean, we are just riddled. We are metastasized with corruption and laziness and a short attention span, right? The reason Republicans fear Trump more than us is because we've given them reason to fear Trump more than the voters. That's partially on us, right? I mean, look, Trump won the election, as far as we can tell, fair and square in 2024. The voters made a choice because they were so pissed off, and understandably pissed off, about all kinds of issues, that they went back. It's like you break up with somebody. You break up with a partner with whom you have an intensely toxic, an abusive relationship. You break up with them. Then you go date somebody else. And that has flaws too. There are issues in that relationship. You get fed up with it, and you know what, thinking, really, was my ex that bad? There were times it wasn't. There were times before he or she, beat me into the floor that it was good. Remember that time we laughed a lot? We laughed a lot. The sex was great. And so you go back to your ex. And then it's like you start to realize along the way, like, oh my God, this isn't good. And that's a choice that we make because we're, again, not to let the Democrats fucked up the election. There's just no doubt about it. And that's why it's not a univariate cause. Like some progressive commentators say, oh, you can never blame the American people. I agree. Politicians should never blame the American people because the American people do not like to be blamed for anything at any time, even if it is in part or in totality our fault. But I'm not a politician, so I can tell the truth. The truth is we are where we are. Yes, because of Democrats. Yes, because of Democratic politicians, which is why their approval rating is in the toilet. Republicans hate Democrats. Independents hate Democrats. Democrats hate Democrats. We all hate Democrats. We Democrats hate other Democrats. Want to make that clear. I'm not saying the politicians. President Biden fucked this up by, not being a transitional president. He should have, as most people wanted him to, as I wanted him to back in 2022, not run for re-election. The Harris campaign, I think, was a well-run campaign mechanically, but in hindsight, they made different choices. They should have unmuzzled Tim Walz more. They should have done all sorts of things. So the point is, please take that at face value. I'm not saying it's all the American people's fault, but a lot of it is the American people's fault. We're really fucking dumb, and we're lazy, and we're short-sighted, and we have shitty memories, and we grade shit on a curve. We took perfectly valid concerns about our current relationship, to use the metaphor, and went back to an ex we really shouldn't have gone back to. That's on us. So we've helped create this situation. Only we can get us out of it. Let's see. We got some other things. Stop having this conversation without mentioning the fact that the other candidate was a black woman. I'm not sure what you mean. I know, obviously, Kamala Harris is a black woman. I don't know if you mean that like there was a racist component. Well, sure. Or if you meant that, like, I'm not sure exactly what you mean, her being a black woman, what the significance of that is. Other than, of course, I have no doubt that there were among the people who voted against her, people who voted against her for racist reasons. No doubt about that. Please be sure to like and subscribe, by the way, as I scroll through the chat. Old Scotty, at the same time, many of the voters accepted lies that should have been seen through. Yes, precisely. Precisely. Like I said, if I were a politician, I would not have said the things I said. Oh, the American people, amazing, impeccable judgment. Democrats are 100% to blame. The American people made their choice. Like I understand why politicians say what I understand why Democratic politicians say that. It's easier for Democratic politicians to say, hey, we fucked up, it's all our fault, than it is to say, yeah, we kind of fucked up. We spectacularly fucked up in a lot of ways, but also you guys are fucking goldfish. Listen, I grew up in red states. I grew up in rural Kentucky, and rural Kentucky, yes, is governed by a Democrat, but it's a Republican supermajority in the legislature. It's a deeply red state. It's a conservative state. Red states struggle. Blue states have their issues, right? That's what the whole abundance debate is about, but blue states tend to be richer, healthier, more educated, less federally dependent. Generally speaking, they're the center of economic activity. Blue states are just by and large on most major metrics better. So where does Republican governance get anybody? And yet these motherfuckers vote for him anyway. Again, if I were a politician, I couldn't say that. But I'm not, so I can. So my soapbox. Let's get off my soapbox. And let's look at some other reactions. So you just heard Secretary Pete Buttigieg of the Biden administration. What about Senator Brian Schatz? This is what he had to say.
I've given a lot of speeches on this floor, and this is the least prepared but the most clear I will ever be. This is the stuff of dictatorships. It is actually happening. A United States senator was manhandled, shoved to the ground, and cuffed. He identified himself. I'm Senator Alex Padilla. That should be enough. That should be enough. A United States senator who is, by the way, protected by the speech and debate clauses of the Constitution of the United States and a specific statute that allows him to oversee immigration facilities. And he says, I'm a senator and I have a question.
Wait a minute, are we not live? Something going on? Oh, we are. Good. Damn. Saw some chat. Had me nervous there. Okay, sorry.
And to Chris Murphy's point, they said, well, he was being disrespectful. Being disrespectful is legal. Being disrespectful is American. Being disruptive is okay if it's just using your words and not your body. This is the stuff of dictatorships, and the thing that is making me most terrified is I see 0 Republicans, except for the presiding officer, in this chamber. And I understand, if it's not a member of your own party, you want some context. There is no context that justifies this action. Alex Padilla is not required to be impeccable in every single way in order to exercise his responsibilities as an American and as one of the 2 that represents California in the United States Senate. This is the stuff of dictatorships. One of the officers who throws him to the ground, as he's clearly complying, cuffs him face down on the carpet. And they say, there's no recording in here. It's a damn press conference. It's for recording. They didn't want to hear his speaking. And if the internet got it accurately, the secretary was there and delivering her remarks within earshot the whole time. She has command authority over those agents who are arresting a leader in the legislative branch. This is not some thing on the internet for us to argue about. We all know what we saw. We all know what we saw. I remain hopeful that Leader Thune and other Republicans can walk us back from the brink. But I am not so sure anymore. So as Trump's Department of Homeland Security raises the stakes and continues with a series of provocations to justify increasingly authoritarian actions, we have 2 obligations. One is to establish that as a legislative branch, we are not going to stand for this. And the other is those people who are peacefully protesting, be very disciplined this weekend.
Yeah, again, he's referring to the protests about the Trump military birthday parade. He's urging people to be extremely disciplined, and he sounds extremely alarmed when he says it. He's obviously worried about what the Trump backlash might be, if there is any violence or any rioting of any kind. And I agree to the extent that I have any influence at all. Guys, if you go to those No Kings protests, do not get fucking violent. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't spray paint shit. Don't knock shit over. Don't break anything. If you see anybody do it, fucking call it out. You do not want to give these fascist fucks the pretense to club you over the head with a billy club. Just don't do it. They might do it anyway, but please don't make it easier for them. Be relentlessly, superhumanly disciplined to the best of your ability. And if they're going to overreact, if they're going to suppress and oppress, make them work for it. Don't give them the pretense to do it. Please don't. There's a reason like he's emotional when he's doing. I totally agree, because Trump has even said, like, he's like, if there are any protests, there's gonna be very heavy force if you interrupt his big birthday day parade. Like the people who are doing the No Kings protest in DC, Jesus. Let's see. What do I want to show you next? Senator Booker, he's upset. Senator Van Hollen, he's upset. I think I'm going to land on Murphy, though. Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut.
Speaking for myself, I don't ask law enforcement to throw my constituents to the ground and violently handcuff them because they have a different opinion from me. You know why I don't do that? Because we don't do that in a democracy. We don't do that against ordinary citizens, and we certainly don't allow the administration and the law enforcement that works for the administration to do that to a United States senator. This kind of violence, simply because the White House doesn't agree with people who dissent. If this is how a United States senator can be treated, then none of us ultimately are immune. If this is how a United States senator can be treated, none of our constituents are safe. This is a test for the country, but this is a test for the United States Senate as well.
All right, folks. So, yeah, that is just a more comprehensive look at what happened. Like I said, here's my process throughout the day. I wake up on a good day. I go to the gym because, again, I put on some pounds, trying to get it off, trying to get back into shape. I come back, I do research about the news cycle in the past 24 hours, what's new in politics. Go to Mediaite, go to the New York Times, go to the Washington Post. I go a lot to the Wall Street Journal and the National Review. It's always fun when people who are nominally aligned with Trump call him out for his bullshit. So I do that, and then I start recording, and there were actually a lot of things I wanted to talk about today. It wasn't for a lack of relevant political news stories. Then this happened. I pounced on it, did a video about it, very proud of it. But then I just got consumed by like, okay, well, what's this reaction to it? What's this reaction to it? Who is saying what? What is this Democratic lawmaker? What's this Republican governor? How are they responding to this? And I was just, I kept consumed. Like, and then it was like, I don't even know where to begin or where to end. And so that's why I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. We're gonna do it live, in the words of Bill O'Reilly. Those of you who ever saw that legendary, you know what? I hope everybody has seen that legendary outburst from Bill O'Reilly back when he was like Entertainment Tonight or Inside Edition or whatever. Bill O'Reilly, we do it live. For those of you who have not had the pleasure, you've got to see this here. Okay. To catch my reference.
Tomorrow, and that is it for us today. Okay, I don't know, whatever it is, it's not right on the teleprompter. I don't know what that is. I've never seen that.
No, there it is. We are going to do Sting, yeah.
Okay, but now I can't read it. There's no words on it.
Okay. Ready? Sure.
There's no words there to play us out. What does that mean? To play us out?
Sting is going to do. It's a video. Sting video.
What is...
For critics.
I don't know what that means, to play us out. What does that mean? To end the show?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, go.
In 5, 4, 3.
That's tomorrow, and that is it.
Okay. In 5, 4, 3.
That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today. And we will leave you with a... I can't do it.
Okay.
We'll do it live.
Okay. No.
We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it, and we'll do it live.
Right.
Fucking thing sucks.
In 5, 4, 3.
That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today. I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks again for watching. We'll leave you with Sting and a cut off his new album. Take it away.
He gave you that same smile that he would later give to Stephen Colbert and Jon Stewart whenever he would interview him, that very hostile smile. And he throws the pen. Okay, listen, here's what you all don't know. I work by myself, so I don't have at this moment like any editors or anything. So it's just me and a camera, and I don't script my shit, which is why like people bust my ass in the comments, like, oh, you said this person said that person. It's like it's all live. We do it live all the time. All of my videos, okay, are off the cuff. But if you only knew how many fucking outtakes look exactly like that, because I've been just screaming at myself. I'm screaming at the wall. I'll even do the aggressive inhale, like try to get it together, like after I fight. It's so funny. If you only knew the unhinged shit that I have said when I fuck up, like, because I'll get like 3 minutes into a video, and I have a brain glitch, and I just like totally shit the bed, and it's like we got to start over. So anyway, so that's why I said after looking at all of the response to this and the reaction and all the lawmakers coming, I mean, we barely scratched the surface even there. I was like, I've got to do a live video because there's no way I can cram this shit into 10-minute video, 15-minute video. Fuck, I don't know if we could do it. Like, it'd have to be like 4 separate ones. So I just decided to do this. I do want to end on one thing, and then I'll look at the comments. If you guys have questions, comments, I'll try to react to them. Please be sure to like and subscribe and share with your friends. Even hate watchers. I don't mind hate watchers. People who like to shit talk me in the comments or whatever. I'm cool with it, baby. Like and subscribe. But, Senator Schatz, in one of those last clips I played, said, I'm optimistic, but I'm not so sure anymore. And Mehdi Hassan, friend of the show, when I interviewed him the second time, he said something similar. He says, I'm hopeful but not optimistic. And I really pondered that distinction, and that's kind of where I am. And so I know some of this you've heard before, but it really is worth repeating. I am hopeful, but I'm not optimistic. I'm hopeful in the sense that I think progressivism can defeat regressivism. I think that liberalism can defeat authoritarianism. It's happened before. It's happened before here. I think it could happen again. Otherwise, I couldn't do what I do. If I thought that it was certain that we would lose, I couldn't do this. I'd have to go do something else. But I'm not optimistic in the sense that I do think the odds are against us. I think genuinely we are the underdogs. And I think it's really important for those of you watching, those of you who care about politics, and those of you who in your own way take the message, the pro-democracy message, be it liberalism or progressivism, wherever you fall, you have just the common denominator needs to be in opposition to Donald Trump and the Republican Party. To the extent that you all also proselytize the message, this is something you need to think about. Do not take it for granted that we will win. I know politicians love to talk about it in those terms. Joe Biden say, I'm serious, not a joke. I've never been more optimistic now. I'm more optimistic now than I've ever been. Like, fuck that bullshit, okay? Be clear-eyed. Don't take it for granted. Be clear-eyed, not just about the stakes, but about the terrain. The right has an advantage out the gate because we, the left, want to build. Even if you disagree with what we're trying to build, what we're trying to do, we are trying to build and advance, move forward. And the right wants to not do that. It wants to sit on its ass. And think about Legos. Any of you who've ever played with Legos? It's easier. It's harder to build the Lego Death Star, and it takes more time. than it is to not build the Lego Death Star or to knock the Lego Death Star off a shelf, which is what the right wants to do. They either want to not build it or destroy what's already done. And so that's why what Trump can do in 4 years with the federal government, it could take us 14 years to undo. It could take us 40 to undo. We can never match the rate of speed of their destruction with construction. Okay, so we're at a huge disadvantage right out the gate. Then, think about this. They have unified control of the federal government. They have the White House, the Senate, and the Supreme Court. We have not had that level of unified control in like 80 years, okay? Then you look at the legislature, look at the Senate, for example. The last time we had a 50-50 split Senate, it was 50 Republicans, 48 Democrats, and 2 independent senators who caucused with us. It was 50-50 in 2021. Democrats represented 40 million more Americans than the Republicans. And the best we could do was squeak a 50-50. They have an outsized advantage. They are advantaged in the Senate. Red rural states, therefore Republicans, are advantaged in the Senate. You look at the House, where we, Democrats, who tend to represent more people, the greater population, we're supposed to have an advantage there. That advantage is shrinking because of gerrymandering. I live in North Carolina, a purple state. We had a 7-7 congressional split. Republicans got control of the state, and they gerrymandered 3 of our seats out of existence. That's it. They fight dirty, they fight ruthlessly, and so our advantage in the House is shrinking. It's easier for them to flip it than it's ever been. And we don't know what apportionment will be like after the next census. It could be worse. So there's that. That's the federal level. Then you have state governments. We have 50 states, 30 state legislatures are under control of Republicans. Meaning we are never going to get a fucking constitutional amendment worth a damn until this whole partisan MAGA shit is over. And that could be generations. Think about it. We have 27 constitutional amendments. And there have been 11,000 attempts to amend the Constitution. I don't even know what that success rate is. That's like what? That's a rounding error. It's like 0.003. Like, what is that? We have the hardest constitution to amend in the world. You need a supermajority to do it. And 30 state legislatures are controlled by Republicans. That's not good. Look at the media. Right? Who's the biggest player in mainstream media? Fox. By far. Fox is constantly lapping CNN, MSNBC when it comes to ratings. And again, they're the propaganda arm of the Republican Party. They had to pay $787 million because they told Donald Trump's fucking lies about the 2020 election. And they've not learned a goddamn thing from that. Can you imagine CNN doing something similar for the Democrats? And hell, speaking of CNN, their lead anchor is Jake Tapper, right? That's their highest profile name. What's he been doing lately? Oh, yeah, he co-wrote a book, and he's on a book tour aggressively criticizing the Democratic Party, which is his right to do. But can you imagine Brett Baier, Dana Perino, John Robert, Bill Hemmer? Can you imagine any of the straight news people at Fox writing a book condemning Donald Trump or criticizing Donald Trump? No, so there's a huge asymmetry even there. Then you look at alternative media. I have a pretty successful channel. There are a lot of people on the left who do much better. Adam Mockler's killing it. Jack Cocciarella, Luke, obviously. Then David Pakman, Brian Tyler Cohen, all the others. Like, they're killing it. I do all right. But all of us are outnumbered and outgunned. You got Steven Crowder, Tim Pool. You've got Ben Shapiro, Michael Knowles, Matt Walsh, Megyn Kelly, Benny Johnson. Fuck, I'm probably missing all sorts of other people. And then the MAGA adjacent podcasts like Theo Von and Joe Rogan. Dude. And then on top of all that, they are willing to sacrifice shame and principle and fall in line behind Donald Trump in ways that Democrats are not willing to do. It is in our DNA as liberals and progressives to take an incredibly difficult job, which is the job I just laid out. Take all that terrain, that sheer climb that we've got right in front of us, and make it that much harder. That's why I say I'm hopeful, but I'm not optimistic. The odds are against us, and we help make it that way. We actively work to make it harder for ourselves. Not all of us every single day, but we've all done it. We've all done it. That's the challenge. So yeah, I'm with Shots on this. Like, this isn't good. This is not good. Candace Owens, yeah, good point. Candace Owens is another one. So yeah, that's where I am. That's why I say be hopeful but not optimistic. Know that the odds are against us. The stakes are incredibly high. And if we want to win, we have to play smart and ruthless, politically speaking. And we have to, yeah, try to work to take an inherently difficult job and make it less difficult. So let's see. Anybody got anything before we do it for the day? Guys mentioned Luke Beasley. Kyle Kalinske. Kyle's great. I agree. Luke is amazing. Asmongold, yeah, that's another one. My understanding he was a video game streamer, but yeah, he's huge. You got to do it live more to get more people watching. Yeah, I know, man. Listen, I'm telling you, I'm trying. Anybody got anything? Questions, comments? A hey, what's going on? A hey, fuck you? I take them all. Oh, yes, and again, since somebody said March. Okay, again, folks, again, I would be remiss if we did not really end on this. Remember, this Saturday, Donald Trump is having his military birthday parade, and No Kings are organizing nationwide protests against this. And if you go to nokings.org, they will give you an interactive map where you can provide a zip code, and they will connect you to the most geographically proximate protest. And you can RSVP, you can sign up. If you got some free time on Saturday and you want to give the finger to Trump, this would be a good way to do it. Might help if I actually show the fucking screen. NoKings.org. In America, we don't do kings. They've got a little trailer here. On June 14th, we rise up. Find an event near you or on the map below. For a special note on Washington, D.C., click here. Ooh, I wonder what that special note is. Oh, they're not doing they're not. Okay. So it won't let me share this for whatever reason. That's because I have a different screen up. On June 14th, Flag Day, Trump wants tanks in the street and a made-for-TV display of dominance for his birthday, a spectacle meant to look like strength, but real power isn't staged in Washington. It rises up everywhere else. Instead of allowing this birthday parade to be the center of gravity, we will make action everywhere else the story of America that day. People coming together in communities across the country to reject strongman politics and corruption. For that reason, No Kings is not hosting an event in Washington, D.C. We will instead have a major flagship march and rally in Philadelphia to draw a clear contrast between our people-powered movement and the costly, wasteful, un-American birthday parade in Washington. For participants in the D.C. area, we encourage you to join us in Philadelphia, find a local No Kings mobilization in Virginia or Maryland, or join our partners at Free D.C. for D.C. Joy Day, a community-led event in the district. But yeah, if you go to nokings.org, they will hook you up with a local event to protest Donald Trump. And again, if you participate, please be safe. Please be reasonable. Do not provoke. Do not give these assholes the pretext they need to do their crackdown. Don't be an accelerationist. Does not work out. So, yeah. But protest loudly and peacefully. And, yeah. All right, folks. Well, listen, I appreciate you. Appreciate you all for popping in this last second thing. There's a lot to cover. And I will have videos uploaded tomorrow as well. In the meantime, please be sure to like and subscribe. And as always, let me know what you think in the comments.